So now we're gonna do the unboxing, guys. Now the reason I say this is because the phone we're recording with is actually a new phone. Gift from my buddies, they got a new phone, blah 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 blah, gave me this phone. It's a Google something, and you know how the Google phones are, you know, they're trying to really compete with Apple, so their cameras have become really good. Well, we're finding out in this video. But as you see, I'm getting the scissors and I'm awkwardly cutting the box. Yay. We're gonna fast forward a bit, and I think we're gonna stop right about here. By the way, am I the only one who uses like scissors or a pin, stabs the top thing, and then just pulls it out because it's awkward to get out with your hands? Okay, it's just me. Cool, wanted to know. But I'm gonna grab the female first because we know ladies first out here. You get a good glimpse at the tail, nothing more, nothing less. Then the male, pretty much the same thing. Let's go unbox them out the little deli cup. Or take the female out because, you know, ladies first again. But as you see, what's in my hand is a little twig. Kind of looks like a baby false chameleon that you kind of stretched out. And that's because it's a Twig Anole, Jamaican Twig Anole. And there's Steve the plant. Now I'm gonna get my boy out, my young man, my sharp shooter, as they would say. And you know, he's pretty cool. He's like the female, but bigger. And we're gonna find out some other differences later in the video. Ooh, here he is. We're gonna put him right in there. And he just like that. Look at that. Imagine if we just back up. It's getting harder to see, and he scurries off. And now he's right there. Gorgeous animals waiting so long to finally own some. And this is our female Twig Anole. Very similar to the male, but a lot smaller in size. Also to mention, the males have a bright pink dewlap that they use to court the females. Tell them, hey, what's up, girl? You trying to breed? You know, let's make some little Jamaican Twig Anoles, you know what I'm saying? And to tell other males, hey, this is my tree. And to tell predators, hey, look at me, I'm big. Super neato Anoles. Anyways, I'm gonna put her in here, right on that stick. But y'all getting treated today to a lovely misting puff of that cage. We're gonna get this real wet, real moist in there. And that's because if you know anything about anoles, anoles are essentially dart frogs but lizards. And these guys need a lot of water. Most anoles do, but these guys really need a lot. Especially with that smaller stature, they can and will dehydrate extremely quickly. Now I'm treating y'all to a feeding puff. And don't worry, that white stuff on my hand, luckily we're in Texas, not Oregon. If you got the joke, good on you. Now we're going to take this cup of freshly dusted crickets and Hadouken. Now they're all over the cage and an empty cup. Real quick before we move on, if you look right there, it looks like the female is eating a cricket. It's kind of hard to see because it's in a dark area, but it's adorable. So pretty much, as you know, we just did the unboxing. You just got a good up close and personal view of these Jamaican Twig Anoles. But as you're seeing over here with this cage, there's something going on over here. One, it's well decorated. You didn't get to see that. But this is where this part is all gonna be. Pretty much decorating it, setting up the cage, doing the sticks, the awkward plant placement, all the fun stuff. So anyways, let's go do that. Then you just rip a hole in it, get all the soil in there, particularly top so it'll be more exact. Then you mix in your moss, right? Then what you do after that is you mix in your sand, then you just keep mixing, a little bit more mixing. Then you mix till it looks about like this. The reason you do that is now that the soil has the moss to uphold that humidity, soil to be soil, and the sand will help keep it to, let's say something wants to dig, like a worm, a isopod, a springtail. It makes it easier on them, or for roots to start going around there and, you know, get a better place to anchor, which helps their growth, which turns into a place for your little anoles to hide under and all the fun stuff, like setting up your first stick in the enclosure, then your next one, and yet another stick. And about at this point, you're kind of getting a formation of what you might have going on. Then you add more sticks and more. So pretty much, I grabbed more sticks. I'm gonna go bake them. There we go. We did it. Yay. Pretty much what you do now is you just make sure nothing is gonna break and set the proper time, which is 300 degrees for exactly 2 hours, which then you forget to record what you did with all those sticks, but you got this masterpiece. Now it's in the back corner. I broke this off though. Then I also used the old like stem structure essentially. to put in the corner along with the plant that I broke off. Then guys, guess what? Psych. I actually didn't forget to record what I did with the sticks. I just didn't get to record each individual process. But real quick, listen to the music and get a tour of the enclosure. So you know guys, I had to change the scenery a bit because I read a YouTube thing, and next thing you know I heard, hey, changing your background can help with viewer retention. So that's what I did. I just wanted to get down here anyway. So these guys are considered to be a harder animal to keep alive and get going, mostly because these have some oddball requirements. One, you cannot keep more than 2 together, male-female pairs only. The reason for this is that the females will essentially get jealous and start fighting the other females, resulting in stress of the male, stress of the female, stress of the other female, and most likely will end, if you do not take any individuals out, with a dead or 2 dead females, or maybe everyone just died of stress. Then, on top of that, these anoles need a lot of water. You know, most of these anoles around me, I'm misting them. If the mister ain't misting them, easily 2 to 3 times a day. A good mist in the morning, a nice medium mist in the afternoon, and you know, a real fat mist right at night. And if I'm up late, I'll come by and like, here's a little water, guys. These guys over here, these Twig Anoles guys, telling you, man, they're gonna be put on their own misting little system machine thing in time. But pretty much, I'm telling you guys, I'm misting when I wake up. I'm misting when the lights go out. I'm misting if I'm just here. I'm misting in the middle of the day. I'm telling you, I see the male walking by, I see the female walking by, I'm misting them, and they're gonna get some confirmed drinks. Why is that? It's because, well, they need a lot of water, and such a small little animal will and can dehydrate very quickly, like I mentioned earlier. But the thing with that as well is that these animals like to be kind of hot. Now, what happens when there's a lot of heat, a lot of humidity? It creates bacteria and can cause fungal infections, especially things, respiratory infections, and can cause diseases for these animals. So, to combat that, you essentially have to allow a dry out period, which they do seem to like a little bit. You need a little small dry out period, maybe an hour in between misting. It gets a little drier in there essentially. And they need good ventilation, which is why this cage actually has a hole in the back to let air flow in and out, in and out. Then on top of the enclosure, it has a pretty large vented mesh lid and a fan on top of it to push air down and spread it around, keeping things moving. Because the issue with bacterial infections, lung infections, is that those mainly happen when you have stagnant air. Stagnant air, if you don't know, that's air ain't moving. So, how do you fix that? Move the air. A fan. So, after you get all that figured out, working out, and you manage to keep them alive, you have to figure out, so how am I going to breed them? Well, Timmy, breeding them is very difficult because that small size, obviously the females can crash very quickly, and since you can only run a male and female pair, there you do run the chance of the male overbreeding the female, overstressing her, and there could obviously be issues with that, you know, where with some of these other anoles like my Barbados and Farius, my males will typically have 2 females to avoid overstressing them, and they still get a break. Where these ones, you know, the people I talk to, they don't have to pull them out, but it's a possibility because you have a male-female pair and not a male-female-female pair. So there is that on the table. And on top of that, well, the females don't bury their eggs. And I'm like, oh, sick, they glue them? I can just see that. The thing, they don't really glue them. What they're gonna do is, here, I think this is a good example. So let's say this is the wall of your enclosure, and this is some stick. Notice how there's like a wedge right here? Females can come in here and lay your egg right here. Guess what? If you move this, the egg falls. If you move this, you crushed your egg. How are you gonna see this egg? It's in a dark area. You ain't gonna know. And on top of that, since it's out and not buried under a couple inches of soil, that means it's gonna be pretty hard for you to make sure the egg is at the proper temperature and humidity it needs to be, not fluctuating like crazy because you don't even know it's there. They hide it really well. And on top of that, you know, since it's also open, that leaves room for, say, a female, your female to come by, or the male, knock the egg down, or gravity does what gravity does and makes the egg fall, which can be pretty bad because then you don't know the orientation of the egg, and then the egg is virtually dead at that point. It's an issue. So when it comes to breeding these guys, you essentially want to find the egg and get that going. And you're like, oh, no big deal. I'll just breed my anole and let them do what they do, and some eggs obviously won't hatch, but majority will. That's the fun thing that might happen. But these guys had to come make it a little harder for us breeders. Guess what they want to do? Eat their kids like they're a crown giant, but they're a little small anole, which is really unique when you sit down and actually think about it. A smaller anole and a lesser anatlet, essentially, actually eating their own young, especially an anole. Most anoles don't eat their young, which is really unique, except crown giants and a couple other species I probably don't know about. And for sure these guys, yeah, definitely makes it very fun. So after all that, you get a little baby animal that will be pretty much only eating fruit flies for a good bit till it can eat small crickets, like really small, like pinheads and 1/4, and then it can eat more normal sized food. And after all that, you have yourself a baby ready to be sold, and it's extremely fragile, and I'm talking extra days in a shipping box. It's gonna probably die. A little bit of mess ups in the care, it could die. These are definitely not, say, a super beginner anole, a little awkward with the care, not everything's truly figured out, but they're fun. I wanted them for a really long time, and I'm doing somewhat well with them, you know. I've seen them do this, guys, which is actually gonna be the next segue.
So the Jamaican Twig Anole said, hey, let's get our Freaky Friday on. And this clip you're watching actually got recorded, I believe, 30 minutes after being put into the enclosure, which is really neato and definitely a good sign. Now, the interesting thing is that these two have never been paired once prior, but the female, about a month ago before being shipped here, did lay her first infertile egg. So she's definitely making eggs. Hopefully the male did the job this time, and then this other time, and you know, probably a couple other times I didn't catch on camera, and maybe the next couple eggs will be fertile. Personally, I'm not expecting any fertile eggs probably till after winter, because right now, you know, it is winter and it's their first year breeding, so there are gonna most likely be a good bit of slugs.
So what are my goals with this species? Pretty simply, if you've known, if you watched a couple of my videos, if you've just been hanging around, I've mentioned them a lot. So I definitely have a deep passion for them, especially this whole video. I feel like I've made that very clear that I have a huge passion for this species. On top of that, I like to breed things to make things a little more common, make them a little bit more knowledgeable, make the information very transparent, which is one of the reasons I believe there is so much failure with this species, is because the information is so lacking. It's very much non-existent, there's no literature in it. My goal is obviously reproduce the species and, you know, make some really cool lines, maybe breed for higher yellows, like my male is just gorgeous, looks just like his daddy. But on top of that, what I'm also gonna be doing is trying to make all my little things about them as transparent as possible. For example, I know that the eggs are typically about the size of normal anole eggs, which I think is crazy. Look at how small the female is. But there's a lot of information that you just can't find online, YouTube, Google. Most of it you have to go find someone to talk to, and there's not a lot of people who you can talk to about these animals, you know. That's my other goal with them, obviously reproduce and make information as clear as day with them. Hopefully that makes people have a lot more success with them. They're a little bit more, how did I get them? You know, this whole video is unboxing this, setting up cages, this. How did I get the animal to set up the cage to talk about them in this video to eventually reproduce them? Well, my good friend Joshua actually bought this pair from another buddy of mine, Crown Giant Anolis. And these were originally going to be breeders, holdback breeders, and for some reason he sold them. Now he sold them to Joshua, and I'm like, hey Josh, literally the day he bought this, mind you. What do you want from him? It's like, oh, I can't sell them right now, I just got them, man. I'm like, I guess you're right. And then I proceeded to tell him, well, you know, if you ever feel like selling them, let me know. A year later, he did let me know. Did I have the money at first? No. So a month later, he got his money, which I believe I paid him about $800, which is not bad for the species, especially at their age. Probably could have been a bit more. Who knows? Their market's somewhat... Babies typically will sit around $300 from last time they were sold to the public, and last time they were sold to the public, to my knowledge, was like 2 years ago. At least on a somewhat consistent basis. At least as consistent you can get with anoles. You know what I'm saying? Super interesting, super fun. And he sold them to me. Now I have them. That's how I acquired them. I guess this is the end of the video. If you liked it, again, sub, like, share with your friends. And I really do want people to push this video. Please leave a like, please leave a comment. It makes things move a little quicker, makes the algorithm be like, hey, what's this guy doing? You know what I'm saying?